and welcome to What's the Point, an initiative brought to you by the Office of Alumni Engagement and Giving at Point Park University, where we talk about careers and conversations about life after graduation, what it is like finding a job. So today I have a wonderful guest to talk with us a little bit about the Professional Career Readiness Center as part of our focus on talking about preparing for job searching, anything related, and a lot of experiential activities, which we're very excited to talk with and talk more about today. So, Dawnese, if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling us what your role is at Point Park.
Absolutely. Great to join in virtually, you could say. So again, my name is Dawnese Booker. I am the program manager of experiential learning in the Professional Career Readiness Center. When I'm not working from home, I am located on the 5th floor of the West Penn Hall building. So hopefully we get back to normal eventually. So my role, I actually am responsible for the administration, the coordination, and evaluation of programs, policies, and services related to experiential learning. So a lot of that falls into the field of our internship and co-op programs. My background is actually kind of like a blend of higher education and human resources. I was really excited about stepping into this role. I love working with students. I love helping people figure out how to take their skills, their interests, their working knowledge, blending that with hands-on experience, and then turning that into a career opportunity for them. So super excited about the role and working with students in that way.
Well, we're so glad to have you. And it's so unique, your experiences, because I think sometimes I know from my own experiences when I was looking at jobs in college was until I was in the room doing the thing, I didn't understand as much how valuable that experience would be for me. So today we have a coffee style chat. I have a cup of coffee here. I don't know if you have anything with you. That is such a cute mug. So are you a big coffee or tea person?
Coffee. So for a warm drink, definitely coffee. And then I'm just, I guess, a weirdo. I like unsweetened iced tea for my cold drink of choice, but I got coffee in here today.
I'm all over the place, but I like sweet tea, but I can't drink that much of it. I can have like a little bit because it's nice and it's like a treat, but I'm with you. It's like I like regular, if I had to pick, plain iced tea.
Same.
So one of the questions I've been asking for this series is kind of more of a fun question. So is there a hobby that you've recently picked up or maybe renewed your interest in lately due to COVID-19 and maybe being home a little bit more than usual?
So yes. I don't know if I would say it's a new hobby. It's something that I was required to do in the Air Force, something I never enjoyed doing, but I started running.
Okay.
Which, again, for me, not the thing of choice, but I wanted to challenge myself. I'm actually training to be able to do like a hypothetical 5K. And then when things are back to normal, obviously an actual 5K.
Right.
So that's what I've been working on, slow and steady.
I love that. I admire anybody who's like, I'm going to run, because that is, I just like, I'm always impressed when folks they can do that, because I would love to be able to in my aspirational self, but not in like actual self. Now, you talked a little bit about your previous experience before coming to Point Park was a lot with HR and really blended a lot of the experiential learning with understanding like human resources and kind of the more administrative side. But talk to us a little bit about, we know that you coordinate or work with our experiential initiatives, but like, how does that process work? Do you work with local businesses or students? Tell us a little bit more about that process.
Yes. So I kind of think of my role in that capacity as like a bridge. You think about if you have like two cliffs and you're trying to get from one side to the other side, there's lots of ways you can do that. You can grab a vine and swing over. You might fall. You can climb down, go across. Maybe there's that's a lot of work, right? But you got a bridge. You have a steady foundation and a way to get across. So I think of my role as that foundation, creating those programs and policies, but also connecting with students on one hand, helping them figure out what kind of opportunities they're seeking. And then with local businesses and employers, seeing what kind of roles that they need to fit so that they can meet business needs, and then having them meet somewhere in the middle.
It sounds like that's very relationship centric, like getting to know what the students are looking for, getting to know what the employer, like what the need or the service the employer is looking to either fill or provide, like for the experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of conversations.
I know we've talked a little bit about like what are some of those experiences, like what could they be, but for the purposes of if we have an alumni watching this who has a business and would be interested in having students work with them, what are some of those experiential experiences that students could take advantage of and businesses could offer?
Absolutely. So, a big focus are our internship and co-op programs. With both of those, students are able to earn college credit while they are completing that experience. A lot of employers like that. It gives the students a little bit extra motivation.
Right?
They're going to be a little bit more motivated and involved in the experience, and it's great for our students too because they get that college credit while they're working through that experience. So those are two of our key programs and a way for employers to get involved and connected with students.
So I know that co-op is different than internships, but tell me a little bit about what is co-op and how does it compare to or how is it different than an internship? Like I'm curious. I don't know if that's a common term for schools.
Yes. I would say that for co-op, depending on who you're talking to at other maybe institutions of higher education or even an employer, it may have a different definition. So
Okay.
talking about internships and co-ops, the way that I explain kind of the difference is that for internships are more for students to kind of try out maybe what it's like to work at a certain company or in a certain role. They may not necessarily have it figured out yet. For our students, they're eligible to do the internship program at any year, depending on obviously certain degree requirements that they may need to meet, but they're eligible to do that any year. For our co-op program, these are more for students who are looking at a very specific area. They kind of have an idea of what they want to do. So they're not necessarily trying it out. They're looking to kind of almost jumpstart their career, make those connections, get that experience, build their resume in a specific area. For our co-op program, that is for juniors and seniors only. So they have to have at least 60 credits that they've earned. So they have a little bit more knowledge and education under their belt to offer just a little bit more as far as what they're offering employers when they step into those roles.
Okay. So it's essentially like co-op is like a level up from an internship where it's a little bit more like you're jumping in really to the deep end of the pool, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of hours that students are required to complete are different as well. So for an internship, now this also depends on their program or degree
Okay.
or major requirements, but usually around 150 to 200 hours over the course of the experience. For the co-op, they are required to complete 384 hours and they are required to be paid experiences. So students are getting the college credit, they're getting the experience, they're getting that paid work opportunity to just really enrich that entire experience for both the student and the employer. There's a lot more level of commitment there.
Okay. Yeah, our office has a co-op student, and we are just have been well, we've had several now, but we've just been so impressed with the students and like the quality of their work, and they really are embracing the entire experience.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, in our current environment, a lot of students are going to be searching for opportunities that may be remote or they may not be able to have that traditional internship or co-op experience. What advice do you have for those students, either ones that are taking on remote opportunities or that are still trying to figure out like how do I still gain a lot of this knowledge if I can't do this experience in a traditional way?
Hmm. So for students that are either just starting a remote experience or it's transitioning into a remote experience, I think one of the big things is communication. Being able to pop into somebody's office and ask a quick question is fantastic, but finding ways to do that in a remote opportunity I think in the world of technology that we live in today, we're used to sending an instant message or a text message and getting a
Mm,
quick answer. And that can be applied to the professional, work field. A lot of organizations use things like Microsoft Teams to be able to get a quick kind of, like, hey, I'm thinking about this or I needed some clarification. But in general, I would say communication. So making sure that that line is open with their supervisor, that they have frequent check-ins, asking for clarification, giving their supervisor updates on where they're at with projects, because again, they're not face to face, they're not co-located. You don't want your supervisor to have to worry about whether or not you're on track, and then they're like, "What are you doing over there? Are you
right,
being
right.
productive?" Right? So I think communication is a big one in transitioning to a remote kind of position.
And that speaks to sometimes I think this is a little bit of a lesson that you learn in your career is that it's truly your job to keep track of like what you have on your priority list, and your supervisor might help you evaluate your priorities and say like place this one over this one. But if you are keeping a list or you're keeping them informed of what you're working on and what your progress is, then they don't have to constantly double check or inquire what your progress is.
Yep, exactly.
My understanding is that a lot of students that have been in co-op positions or internships sometimes lead to a full-time position or a later position with that same company. Is that something that you experience often, or is it, I guess, out of curiosity, are there a lot of students that maybe go to a company, love it, and then end up applying there after graduation, or a little bit about that process?
Yes, absolutely. And especially with the co-op program, because they're working more hours at a company or organization. They're usually working on projects that maybe have a little bit more impact with the organization. So they're providing a valuable skill set and contribution to that organization for the kind of project and work that they're doing, where sometimes the employer's like, we want you back, we want you to continue working on this. Maybe it's a new initiative, maybe it's ongoing, but yes, we definitely have those kinds of situations.
Well, and I always love reading the like marketing profiles that are of students that are co-ops and what they're up to, because it's so interesting to hear they just do such a range of projects, and I'm sure that's the intention, but it's just really cool to see like they liked it so much that they stuck around or they're taking on a different role but in the same company.
hmm Yeah, it's really cool to read those student profiles. I definitely encourage anybody checking out this video to hop on the Career Ready portion of the university website and check out there's internship profiles, there's co-op profiles that talk about where students have worked and what their experience was.
And for everyone, we will link to these resources in the description so that they are readily available. Um, So a lot do you, if an alumni, let's say somebody has a company and they watch this video and they're an alumni or even a local community member that would like to pursue one of these opportunities, do they just contact you or I know you said a lot of it's based on a lot of conversations, but is there a process that they should follow?
So I would say to just reach out either to the Professional Career Readiness Center. They can do that by email, or the email address is careerdev@pointpark.edu. They can email me directly as well. My email is dbooker@pointpark.edu. And that contact information, again, can be found on the website. They can just go to the Career Ready section to go ahead and reach out to us. And then we can start having those conversations about what kind of student they're looking for, what the role entails. And then we reach out to students. We try, especially for our co-op program, to really vet those students so that we're sending them the best of the best candidates so that they can kind of, interview them and decide who they would like from there.
What advice do you have for somebody who is starting a new position, whether that's a new job or a new internship or experiential activity? What advice do you have for that person as they enter into that process?
So I would say to ask a lot of questions. Um, Starting a new position, whether it's an internship, a co-op, or you're stepping into more permanent employment post graduation or new job, you're gonna most likely get overloaded with information, right? and you're only going to be able to take it all in and remember it, so much of it.
Right.
So I say ask a lot of questions. Ask what are those resources, whether it's a portion of the company website, if it's a SharePoint site, a packet, whatever it is, so that one, you can possibly refer to that yourself, take that initiative to learn something, but also know who those resource points are in the organization, who to go to for questions, because you're going to have them. And telling yourself you're expected to know everything is just probably not the best way to start out. Ask questions.
Right. And yes, that's such an excellent point, that you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And it's better to just ask and double check than to assume you should know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for folks that are job searching just in general, and then also in our current environment?
Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll start with our current environment. I imagine that a lot of folks right now are probably looking for remote opportunities. And obviously, of course, that depends on the field that they're in, because certain positions are most likely not going to lend themselves to a remote kind of work environment. But for anyone who's looking for a remote opportunity, when you're looking at job search sites, to make sure that you are specifically including keywords that say remote work or
Okay.
virtual. Um, you're going to help yourself with filtering out a lot of those positions that maybe are not virtual. And then also, for a lot of those job search sites, they allow you to filter a little bit more, location, salary range, all of that. Some of them actually allow you to filter for remote opportunities. So take advantage of
Huh.
those filters, yes, and use those keywords. It's going to help you to cut down how many results that you're sorting through, so that you can find the opportunities that are more fitting for you. Then the other piece of advice I would say is to search often. I think that people who are looking for jobs right now, whether it's an internship or again, like a more permanent position, think that maybe companies are not hiring. That's not the case. Jobs are being posted probably daily. So check back, whatever you looked at today. At the end of the week, you may see even more job postings. So continue to check back and be persistent in your job search.
I know some of those websites you can set up like auto emails that send you any jobs that meet your criteria. So then, yes, you can still look, but you could set up something very simple that would tell you like these 10 jobs popped up
Yep.
today.
Yes, that's another good resource. Work smarter, not harder.
Right. Don't spend all that time combing through when they'll do it for you with their
Right,
computer.
right. They got all the algorithms and all of that, so let them help you.
So a lot of alumni and students are probably in the position where they are looking to coordinate their materials and update their materials and really speak to a lot of their experiential activities and how they translate to their hireability as a candidate. So what advice do you have for folks that are putting together the materials, and how do you identify the best ways to kind of take what you learned in your experience and apply it to your materials?
Hmm. So one thing that a student or alumni or anyone doing anything like that to try to put that all together, like in a resume, for example, I say to do like a skills inventory type list. This is something that I do personally as well. I kind of like list out all the skills that I have or certain projects that I've worked on, so that I have just like kind of a master list. Then as I'm job searching, what I would do is I would look at the certain skills or experience that that position is looking for, and then I kind of plug and play, plug and play. But also, outside of doing that alone, you can make an appointment with the Professional Career Readiness Center. We can help you with that. Don't have to do it alone. You don't have to give yourself a headache working on that. We're here. We like to do it. We're good at it. Get some help.
Yeah. And you all have good experience with knowing, like, okay, you talked about you did this, you could write it this, like I could help you write it and I could help you organize it.
Yes.
And my understanding is they can do a lot of that remotely, and a lot, all alumni have access to the Career Readiness Center at any point as their time as an alumni, but they could do a lot of that work remotely or connect with everyone remotely, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are working remotely. We are working with students all the time, either through email, phone calls. We can do video calls. So we're ready. We're here to help. Just send us an email.
Do you have a quote or an expression or a mantra that you live by and often reflect on in your work?
I do. Um, Honestly, I'm not really sure the origin. I know that my grandfather used to say it to my mother, and my mother has always said it to me growing up and even as an adult. And it is nothing beats a failure but a try. And for me, it means, yeah, there's going to be those times where success doesn't seem like it's a definite, which I don't really know when success is a definite in general. There's always, you could fail, and it's scary thinking about failure. So, whether you're looking at applying for a position that seems like it's out of reach, or you've been asked to take the lead on a project at work and you're just like, I don't know if I can do this, right? Um, I always say, just try your best. If you don't get that position, or maybe the project doesn't turn out how you expected it, one, you're better off than you were if you hadn't tried it in the first place, right? Um, and for me, I think that space right there is an opportunity for you to learn. It's an opportunity for you to grow from there. And I kind of even take it back to earlier, I was talking about the running, right? I'm not a runner. I don't even know how I did it in the Air Force, to be honest. And, I'm thinking about, okay, 5K, gotta do this 5K, right? And every time I do it, I'm like, I'm so slow, I'm so slow. But each time you do it, each time you try, you're better off. For me, a little bit faster than last time. So better off than you were before. Just try.
If you keep putting in the time and the trying and, putting yourself out there, eventually something will materialize.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, it's scary. Like, I think there's probably some people are out there like, I don't care what happens, I'm just going to do it anyway. Like, it's just naturally in them to try new things, to put themselves out there, to step outside of their box. But I think it's also, a big thing for a lot of people to be afraid of failing. And if you let that freeze you, you're never gonna, I'll never run a 5K if I'm worried about that. So it's just an example.
Right. And once you run one, you might be ready for the 10K or the next
Yep.
one. And I'm sure a lot of this you probably talk with alumni and students often about is what do you do when something doesn't go to plan? Like when like thinking through, like if you apply for a job and you don't get it, or you tried something and it didn't work. It's like learning how to continue moving forward even when it's hard, when
Hmm.
it's uncertain.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I think, I mean, again, it's like it almost sounds like a dirty word to say failure, but there's opportunity there. And so if you see that opportunity, you can run with that. So
Often in life, sometimes things don't go as planned, but it could result in a very different but good outcome. So, is there a time in your own life or career where something didn't go to plan, but it worked out anyway?
for this, I kind of think back to when I was in undergrad, and I was, what was it, my junior year, I think. I was getting close to finishing up, and I knew I had to do an internship as part of my degree requirements. My major was mass media communication. I had planned on working in like public relations or advertising. Those were the kind of internships I was looking for. And I was approached by the director of campus life at the university I was at. And he was like, we have an internship position working on our new student orientation program. I think you would be a good fit. And I was like, thinking to myself, I don't really see that. Um, I'm thinking, well, he knows me. He knows I'm reliable. We had done volunteer experience before. He's probably thinking she's a reliable student, not a bad idea. But on the other hand, I thought to myself, well, it does meet the requirement for the internship. I don't have to keep looking. It's paid. I'll probably get some work experience. And if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'll get a good reference. So that's what I was thinking at the very base level. I didn't expect much more out of it. Little did I know that experience planted the seed in me to work in higher ed. And it wasn't anything I had ever considered. Even after graduation, I didn't plan on working in higher ed. I actually did get a position in higher ed, but I would kind of bounce around here and there. But over time, I realized that that was planted in me, to work in a field that I had never considered before, I should say. So I think it's just really interesting how it turned out. It wasn't anything what I expected. I expected, okay, I'm checking off these things on a list, and then I'm going to go my way and hopefully
Right.
find something in advertising or what have you. And here I am today.
Sometimes it's being adaptable and being open to the experience that maybe you pivot, but you're still, like I would argue, you're still using a lot of the mass communication skills that you learned in your degree program, but just not in that way that you had initially envisioned.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think, yes, being able to pivot, being open minded, being flexible, you open yourself up to a lot of opportunity. And again, like I had never considered working in higher education. I didn't even think of that as like that's what people think to do. Obviously, they do because we have, universities that are run by a ton of people that make things work. So, but yeah, I would say that as an example.
In my own career, I can think of folks that really made an impact, a mentor or a colleague that really shared some good insight or something that I really took to heart. From your experience, what's the value of those kind of connections, like mentors, and kind of that colleague interaction that you would get during a first job or an experiential experience, such as an internship?
I think they're super valuable. I think that they kind of having people like that as a part of your professional life, or even it might be somebody in your personal life who serves as a mentor. I think that they provide an example or something to kind of go back to when you're feeling stuck, right? Or like, how is this supposed to look? Because again, I go back to the example of you maybe watch something on TV and you're like, this is what this is supposed to look like. But what does that look like in real life? To have that person who can kind of bring you back to reality, to give that kind of real life examples. I think it's very valuable.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if this is kind of a like a example that you've heard before, but it talks about having like your circle of people, like your like executive cabinet, like people that you go to for if you're looking at a new position or you're thinking about applying, like those are your people that you go to, like here's your family and that network. But there's like
Hmm.
a professional circle that you refer to for career advice or those mentors that you're like, okay, like this is what I'm thinking. Like, what's your 2 cents on this?
Yeah, yeah, I like that example.
Is there anything else that you want to ask or share, or anything that I didn't ask you?
I would say, just for students, alumni, anyone who's checking out this video who had a chance to watch, if you're thinking about your career and you're thinking like I need a little bit of help in some area, don't wait. Don't necessarily again try to give yourself a headache figuring it out yourself. Connect with us. Connect with the Professional Career Readiness Center. Have that conversation, and then we can talk about what resources we have. What opportunities exist to kind of help you through that. So don't just sit there and struggle through it. Connect with us. Yeah.
There are people ready to help. Thank you so much for chatting with us today and helping us discover what's the point and really figuring out best practices for students jumping into these experiential learning opportunities, as well as helping alumni learn how they can provide these experiences. We're so grateful for your time, and just thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.